the World Cup of Java. I am Scott Granville, your host, and this should be an amazing show because we got an amazing guest today, an old friend of the show who we haven't talked to in a long time. So let's get him on right away, Mr. Greg Clarke. Greg, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Scott, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, you look wonderful in that Canadian garb. Obviously, you've been a soccer guy all your life. Let's quickly talk about your history in the sport and why you love it so much. Where did you start playing? And tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, happy to. So listen, I started playing back when I was 3 years old in London, Ontario. I'm born and raised there and played there for many, many years before making the tough decision before the academy set up and the greater structure that is in place now of making the drive from London to Toronto 3, 4, 5 times a week to get better competition. That led into stints with the provincial team and eventually a scholarship to play D1 soccer down in Louisiana. And I'll follow that by getting into the coaching stream and staying close to the game. So I am a student of the game. I love the game. Many of my opportunities, best friends, and jobs have come through the game. So I am a loyalist and a soccer purist.
That's awesome. And so with that in mind, tell me how you felt about how Team Canada represented over in Qatar.
Listen, I've never had butterflies in my stomach watching a football game. And the first game against Belgium was so pure. It was one of the best things I've seen. And I used to play with Atiba. Him and I were teammates for many years. So the fact that he's still on the field and still doing it at that level, it was amazing. And I think the team did fantastic. I think it was a good 3 games. It's complex, and at that level, it's the nuance. It is such a fine line between 1-0 or losing 3-4-1. It is a very, very fine line, but I'm proud of the guys. I think everyone did fantastic.
I think so too. I think it's just natural. Criticism is going to be there. I think it was so over the top. What I heard about specifically John Herdman and to even say anything about Alfonso is so ridiculous. Right. You just watch the games and you watch Belgium and Germany, 2 of the powerhouses. They're out.
Right.
So, I thought we did really well. I thought that there were things that, like you said, at the highest level, what happens when you give the ball away? Right. You get scored on almost every time, right? You can't do that. And Milan, he had Canada on his shoulders. He helped us get there, and I love that guy. And any criticism because he made a mistake, my goodness. How many times did we try to get the audio for this podcast?
All good.
So it's real, and it's people just forget that mistakes are sometimes made on a soccer pitch, and they don't really understand that. And that's why guys like you are so important, because you played at that level. And let's talk about Atiba briefly, because I know I brag about that trip all the time, that you and I really became quite good friends despite our age difference. I know your pops. I talked to him a lot, and through the years, and the trip to Mexico City with Atiba. I bring up that all the time. Like, I wrote a book, Direct Kicks to the World Cup, and it had a lot to do with that particular trip, because it was such an important thing. Atiba, what a quality human being he is. I mean, everyone sees that, but what a player. Right. Like, my goodness, the second I saw him play, tell us about the team. We went down to Mexico City with you guys, our camera crew. In fact, it's the only time I think I bunked with the boys. I bunked with you guys. Awesome. I actually stayed in the same room with one of you, 4 or 5 of you. I can't remember. And I think Atiba was one of the guys. Yeah. So tell us about that team. Because it was a mismatch. Carlos brought it together, didn't he?
Yeah. It was a Carlos Rivas select team. And
right.
Shout out to Carlos Rivas and
of
all
course
that he's done for the game, because he's done more than he gets credit for.
That's so
it
true.
was a mismatch of I'd say age, but it was a team full of if I can say absolute killers,
Oh yeah,
absolute killers from
it was.
Andres Arango, Damian
Yes,
Scott, Matthew Smith, Ricardo Marquez, Marat Sucre,
yes,
just a team of guys that were on it, were real players. And we went down
yes,
and gave the Mexican teams a lot of hell. And
yeah,
maybe a bit about Atiba. He growing up, he was never the stud. Like early days, he was never the stud. But you saw the work he put in over the years, and he
right,
became this guy that was just trusted on the field. Like any game, if you just knew he was rock solid. And we would
right.
go on trips to Mexico. I went with him to Italy once, and you knew at that age, 15, 16, 17, he was different. And
Right,
pro scouts would come to the game and they would identify him like, hey, this guy is something. I remember
right,
we were in Cosenza in Italy, and the team wanted to take him like on the spot. They're like, we want that kid, and
right.
everyone was clamoring for attention. Like they knew
Well,
from that time he was finesse. He was a beautiful player.
right. Well, that was the first time I'd ever met Atiba. And so I'm watching you guys play, and I'm looking at your team, and I'm going, these guys are stars. Remember Ricky? The amount of step overs that kid did,
Right.
everyone was getting looked at except Atiba.
Right.
Remember Atiba was really sick.
Right.
Remember you guys got sick?
All of
I
us
tell
got
that,
sick.
but you all got sick, and he was one of the last guys that did. And I remember the last couple games, he didn't play or didn't play well because he was sick. And I remember, and this is one thing that I wrote in the book. I put my arm around that kid because he was almost in tears because everyone else was getting recognized, and he would just. It was because he was physically so hurt. And I put my arm around him. I said, buddy, you're going to represent Canada. And I really brag about this a lot because, I didn't ever discover Junior Hoylett,
Right.
but we were there and we bragged that we discovered it. No, the scouts did. And I certainly had nothing to do with Atiba, but I do remember that moment. And I know that he would too, because he was really down.
Yeah.
I saw him, the second I saw him touch the ball, I went, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, everyone else on including you, including Ricky, had such incredible flair.
Right.
Incredible. You guys can touch the ball. You can pass the ball. You guys no look passes, all this stuff. And you played that way. Atiba didn't.
Right.
Atiba was this pivot man. The guy,
Right.
as soon as I watched within 10 seconds of watching that kid play, I said, Patrick Vieira.
Right.
Because remember, Patrick Vieira at that time, back in 2000, was the man. No one could, the way he played and the way he positioned his body that no one could touch. Like Atiba's friggin' legs are the size of my fingers.
Right.
I don't know how he does it.
And listen, he's built for this. Like he is built. If you were to create a perfect specimen for a stopper, central midfielder, like that's him.
Right.
And he was always so consistent. Like again, you could just trust him. You could trust him inherently. I trust him now with my kids. Like he's just such a stand-up guy, and from time he's been such a great player, great advocate for the game, and doesn't get the praise he deserves. Like he should be on stat. There should be a statue of him here in Canada.
There's no question. I think that, like I was mentioning to you recently, he now has 101 caps.
Right.
And he probably won't have any more. So we should start Soccer 101 with Atiba Hutchinson on direct kicks and get him. I want him on that show to do, because that guy needs a platform. His quality of his heart and his person, along with his ability as a player. I mean, and quality as a leader. Yeah. My goodness. It's so neat.
Yeah, and if I can, maybe just one more point about that team, and I think there are a lot of parallels between that team and Team Canada that's at the World Cup. Most of that team were, I think, of first generation Canadians who are just absolutely fearless. So I look at Team Canada in Qatar, and I see the same thing. A bunch of kids who had parents who made the trek across water to find a new life, and said, hey, here is an opportunity for us to change our family's generation to change downstream any trauma, any prejudice downstream for generations. We're going to make that decision, and their offspring have just come with this big chip on their shoulders. Like there's nothing that could stop us. Like we don't care if it's Mexico, USA, Belgium. Like we're going to play and we're going to hold our own. And that's just air apparent in the squad now, and the new regime within Canada Soccer, which I'm happy to see.
Right. I mean, it's just it can't go anywhere but up, despite the fact that you're going to get some criticism from some of the people. But I guess there's a lot of journalists out there that all of a sudden have become soccer experts.
Sure.
And you know, this is one thing. I never consider myself a soccer expert at all. I'm a sponge. I'll listen to anybody because I'm certainly no expert. But to point a finger at like John Herdman, for example, for tactics and whatnot. Well, he got the tactics right to get us number one in CONCACAF. Right. We're all crazy to point a finger at him. We need him for the next 4 years.
Right. I would argue that he's likely the best thing that's happened to Canada Soccer. And I will go back a little bit. I think, and I'm not sponsored by Nike. I think getting into Nike, getting a check, I think that changes the mindset a little bit too. So we go from a small brand with Score, and then we go to Adidas, maybe Umbro. I think moving to Nike helped kind of catalyze many of the players to say, okay, this is a real squad. And then bringing in Herdman with his tactics and all that he knows about the game. It's I don't know. As an call me a quasi insider, I am honored because it set the foundation now for kids coming up. Because when I was growing up, Scott, when you were growing up, going to the World Cup was never an option. It was just you knew you were going to lose in CONCACAF. It was just a known. And now we've got two in a row. We've got this for Qatar, and we've got the next one.
Right.
I think that'll set the stage for kids, my son coming up, who knows, hey, that's an option. We should be in the World Cup. It is fantastic. I see nothing wrong. These reporters can say whatever they want. They don't know the nuance and like the intricacies of the game. It is a very difficult sport to master, like extremely difficult. And I'm honored to be a Canadian, honored to have played with some of these guys and know some of the guys because they've represented us fantastically.
No, absolutely, and I'll just say this: if I hear soccer being called the beautiful game one more time by a journalist, it's like the only thing they know about a brace is what is put around your knee when you get hurt. So that's the reality of it. And guys like you and myself, I don't care. It doesn't matter because we are going up, and like I see over here, the women's team are the ones that really have been the beacon of success that have showed the way. So we have that too in 2023. So that'll be a great tournament. But let's go back to your son. Tell us a little bit about your son and how you're bringing him up to love the sport.
Yeah. My son, I have two kids. My son Mason is 8 years old. My daughter Maya is 5, and they recently caught the bug of soccer. So I'm here in Calgary. I've been coaching them for a couple of years now too. I'm a coach at the Springbank football club, soccer club, and I really focus on like the technical aspects of the game. So I would say there's a lot changing in the game, especially here in the West. We're really getting serious about doing the right things because again, there's a clear pathway to success through whether it's CPL, whether it's a scholarship route, whether it's going to Europe. And these kids are fearless, man. Like these kids are a bunch of eager kids to play the game the right way. And I'm happy to be able to be on the field and show them, impart some of my knowledge onto them.
Well, Alberta has always been such a huge, like, for participation numbers. I remember Edmonton was a city, and I know Calgary is too, that are just so supportive of the sport, indoors and out. Well, they have to be indoors because of the weather, and outdoor. So it's you must have seen that. How long have you been out in Calgary?
So this is my second time here, but this stretch I've been here for 7 years, and previously I was here for 3. And I think pound for pound, folks who don't know, and I know there's a lot of advertisements in the East and even Vancouver to move west, move to Calgary. It is the best city in the country, hands down. it has the right mix of everything.
Right.
Diversity, cost of living is relatively affordable. Opportunity to get out and do things with the family and community. It just has everything for us.
Right.
Maybe as a single guy in my early 20s, maybe not. But again, as a family guy, where I am in my career and life, it is the best place for us.
That's fantastic. That's great to hear. And they support the sport, don't they?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a big community, again, with the Cavalry, with the Tommy Wheeldens, the Leon Hopgoods of the world, the university, Brendan O'Connell, Kevin Francis, UFC. There's just lots going on. And people here have the resources and the desire to be great. Because I think oftentimes folks in the West are looked down, because most of the team at high level comes from Ontario, maybe a bit of Quebec, a bit of BC. Alberta doesn't get much love, but like they've got players here. They've got players here that are willing to put in the work, and it's really about the work behind the scenes that there's not much fanfare about. The keep up behind the scene, the studying the game, because it's really, to get to that level of mastery, it takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah, no question at all. Dedication and passion for the sport is needed, especially moving forward to 2026. And then, hey, listen, we're right in the middle of a World Cup now, and we've been able to see how our players are showcased at that level, and how like you said, nuances. Every time somebody makes a mistake, there's a good chance somebody's going to pounce on that mistake, and how quickly and how close we were to changing the narrative from the naysayers when Atiba just came so close to scoring that goal against Morocco. I mean, Morocco going in, we thought, oh, gee, we might be, they might be the weakest of the four if we're trying to think that we might be better than them going in. And then they win the friggin' group. So it's amazing how small little things. But if I, to think of the 3 games that Canada participated in, we had 3/4 of one game that we were made to look bad. Yeah. Otherwise, we did well. Oh, yeah. We dominated Belgium, and we instead of folding after the first 4 minutes of the game against Morocco, we got up and we went at it, and we did what we were supposed to do. So that's obvious. I mean, those are just facts. But I want to ask you about. I know the heart tug you've always had with Atiba because you played with them for so long. But who are the other players that you watch on the Canadian team that make you just go, oh, that's like, we all know the skill level of. But who are your guys? Who are your faves?
My faves, and this one's a bit selfish. So Junior Hoylett is one of my faves. We have some family ties, so we're cousins, distant cousins. So Junior Hoylett, I love Kyle Larin. I think he's a fantastic player. I like Jonathan David. I like Oso in the middle. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he's a real orchestrator. He knows what's going on. He can really sense the pulse of the game. And I think he's a box-to-box guy. He can score and defend. In the back, obviously, Kamal Miller. I think he reminds me so much of players we used to play with, the Winston Marshalls, the Matthew Smiths back in the day. Just that no-nonsense left back who could clear things up. And obviously, I think Ali Johnson. It's tough to say much about him. He just signed with Celtic, so that's big time.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I've been bragging that I must have some kind of ESPN, because the day before it was announced that there was rumors, I had not been listening at all to anybody, and I went on. I think it was Canada's probably for the first game. I can't remember. No, it was the Croatia game, and I had mentioned on air that I think Celtic would be the perfect place for him. And so it was just a guess, because I'm thinking level of play, how he could fit in perfectly, and not without too much. Like, I'm not saying Real Madrid here, but with a quality side like Celtic, I think he's just going to eat that up. The Scottish League, he is going to be immediately. He's going to make a mark, and immediately, in my opinion, watch this. He's going to be one of the most favorite sons of that friggin' league. They're going to love him. They're going to eat him up.
Right. Right.
53,000 strong every game at Celtic Park, screaming his name. They're going to. I know it. They're going to take hold of that guy, and he's going to have an amazing career.
Yeah, he's again back to, I think, Canadians as a brand. We're just humble, hard workers. He does the work behind the scenes. We're not big on broadcasting what we do. We just get the work done.
Right.
He didn't miss a minute of the World Cup. Like no one else played other than maybe Boyan. He played the whole tournament on the field. Yeah. I think he'll do fantastic there, and that just sets the stage of solidifying the back line and solidifying the team going forward. And I guess I didn't mention Alphonso Davies because I think that's an easy one. Everyone knows him. I think he's incredible, and the passion he has for the game and how he represents us so well overseas, and he's at one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's fantastic. That's something that we dreamed of, and didn't think that was possible as kids. Now my son, my daughter, the next generation know that that's an option.
For sure, absolutely, on both sides, and it's a great option to have because it teaches you a lot of quality of life, doesn't it?
Of course.
Yes, and I'm going to end the interview rather abruptly because of the big soccer game that we both have to go and watch. But I want to end the interview with soccer rapid fire trivia. Okay. I want to kick your butt, my friend. I hope you stretched before this because this is I've got 10 questions for you, and I'm going to go over the rules because we've kind of changed them a little bit, because as you probably remember, when you get something wrong, you get a yellow card from Korny Dalglish. Yes. And then the second one, you get a red card and you're out of the game, right? But we just decided that we'll give you all 10 questions, and if you have to accumulate too many yellow cards, then maybe the urinator will come out and give you a yellow card. So these are fairly tough questions, but okay. So buckle up. People at home watching, please observe and try to answer questions as well. And good luck to you. Buckle up, stretch, and here we go. Question number 1. What country did Carlos Rivas represent?
Chile.
That is correct, as the crowd goes crazy. Good. Okay, question number 2. Carlos scored on a free kick to put Chile into the World Cup. What year was the World Cup, and where did it take place?
1982, Spain.
Correct. That was an amazing goal that he scored. The crowd, when he scored that goal, went so crazy. I did an interview with him, and he said it puts the hair of my arms up. And we looked, and he's got hair about 4 inches long on his arm, and went straight up in his arm. It was like one of the... He's a great man, Carlos Rivas. Okay. Which is not a CONCACAF country? Panama, Cuba, Colombia, or Mexico?
Colombia.
Correct. 3 for 3. Bulgarian striker Stoichkov starred for Barcelona in the 90s. What's his first name?
Risto.
Boy, you're getting... Okay. Who would you rather have on your team? Harry Maguire, Harry Kane, or Harry Back?
I say Harry Kane.
Correct. You don't want a Harry Back. Okay. What men's team player dove into a snowbank in Edmonton to celebrate an iconic Canadian goal?
Calgary's own Sammy Atiba.
Yes. What a classic. Okay, so here's a follow-up. What nickname was given to the Edmonton Stadium thanks to the favorable temperatures?
The Azteca.
That is correct. You should know that. I put that in there for you because you and I did all that work there at Azteca. Okay. Cheese Whiz is known as a delicious treat. Tell me, is there more cheese or more whiz?
Cheese.
Oh, Korny comes out for a yellow card. There's way more whiz than Cheese Whiz. Okay, that's all right. You didn't know.
No.
Okay, name the English soccer great who spends his retirement cutting sheep's hair. English soccer great.
Paul Gascoigne.
Oh, Gaza, not a bad choice, but no. Alan Shearer. Because it's the sheep.
Of course.
Oh my God. Okay, so 2 yellows, but that's all right. We'll go on to the final question. Question number 10. Name the bathroom device often associated with Alex Ferguson. The bathroom device. Oh.
The plunger?
The urinator comes out for the very first time on our show. Oh, no, it's the hairdryer.
The hair
You remember?
dryer.
Yeah, because Alex Ferguson yelled at his players so much.
Right.
He was known as the hairdryer because they blow in his face. Yeah. Well, gee, thanks for participating in soccer rapid fire trivia, Greg. That was good. You were confident after about 6 or 7, and then Korny starts coming out with the yellows. That's I think maybe you need to go home and do your homework, maybe earn your corn that way, and we'll have you back on the show because we kept this pretty short so that we can go and watch the games, but we're going to have you back because we have to talk more about what we did together at Azteca Stadium and how that gentleman that helped you get there, Carlo Rivas, is one of the most amazing coaches in Canadian soccer history, and like you said, does not get the credit, but he will on this show. And I need you to be part of that because you were such a big part of that part of Direct Kicks. And we can go over all the different the reports that you did for us back in the day.
Yeah.
Remember, I was calling you Denzel. Hey, Denzel, you're going to be in Hollywood someday.
That was a long time ago, man. But I look forward to digging back into the crates and supporting the movement here, Scott.
This is awesome. I really appreciate your support. It's been amazing chatting with you now, and thanks very much. And enjoy the games, the rest of the World Cup, and I'll talk to you in the next couple of weeks if you don't mind, and we'll do this again.
Sounds great.
Okay, Greg. Thanks a lot for talking.
All right,
okay.
cheers.
All right. That was Greg Clarke, one of my favorite young soccer players that spent a lot of really great quality time with at Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, where we met up with Atiba Hutchinson, and Greg played with some awesome players. So that's this edition of Direct Kicks. We'll see you next time on the World Cup of Java and on Direct Kicks. See you next time.